So good afternoon everybody, and welcome to our session today on Big Talk, giving value to conversation between parents and children at home. And it's a pleasure to have Caroline Turtle with us from East Ayrshire. I just want to hand over to Caroline and really appreciate her time this afternoon to talk to us on this. So I'll hand over to Caroline.
Okay, thank you very much, Beverly. I'm just going to share my screen, so just give me 2 seconds, guys. Okay, so just while that's uploading, I'll just introduce myself. So my name's Caroline and I'm a speech and language therapist. I've been working with the Scottish Attainment Challenge in East Ayrshire now since 2017. I got the job when I came back from maternity leave. And my job is fully funded by the Scottish Attainment Challenge, so although I work for NHS Ayrshire and Arran, my role is predominantly with education. So I work really closely with the Senior Education Manager for Literacy in East Ayrshire, Gail Elder, and I have a small team with me. Caroline Grant has joined us on the call today. We also have Kirsten Clark and Joanna Shearer. So we work really closely with a number of schools around East Ayrshire. And Big Talk Homework is one of the things that we have developed as part of our suite of training, the CLPLs that we offer, programmes that we offer to school, programmes that we support schools with, and all of it sits under our East Ayrshire Communication Friendly Environments Accreditation programme. So Big Talk Homework is one of the programmes that our schools do when they're looking to involve parents and families and the communities in their work around communication and about really just involving the community and why language and communication are so important for children. Please use the chat box at any time to ask any questions as we go along, and I'll keep an eye on it and answer any questions as we go. And there's not a huge amount on the call, so if at any time you would like to unmute, maybe just put your hand up and I can ask what you would like to say or ask. So first of all, I'm going to share a film with you. This is a film that my team made in 2018. So you'll see my wee boy starring on it. He looks a lot different now in the film to what he does now. But it's just a little bit of background and just to kind of, get everybody thinking about why language and communication. Why is this something that I need to look at as a teacher, as a head teacher, as a deputy within my school and with our communities? So if you can't hear it, let me know in the chat box, but we tested it, so hopefully it will work okay. Here we go.
Communication is such a key part of life. Around half the number of children starting school each year may not have the communication or language skills expected for their age. This means they may struggle to understand what's said to them, to talk, to make their needs known, to ask for help, and to make friends.
Okay, Abigail, so what you need to do is you need to have a look at this menu, you need to choose what you want for your lunch, then you need to go up to the counter and you need to ask the dinner ladies for what you want for your lunch and then they'll get it for you, okay? Do you understand, Abigail?
If children don't get the right support, they won't catch up with other children their age. Their difficulties might continue and they could struggle to learn to read and write. There could even be serious lasting effects as they grow up right through into adulthood.
Over a third of children who don't have good communication and language skills can struggle to make friends and become socially isolated and lonely. They may struggle with their mental health. For example, they may become very anxious or depressed. They could also be more vulnerable to being victims of crime. Children and young people don't always have the language skills to say how they are feeling. Sometimes this is shown in the behaviours that we see. If you don't have good communication and language skills, it's hard to negotiate and express your feelings using words. Poor language and communication skills can be a risk factor for committing a crime.
Some young people end up in the criminal justice system. Around 2/3 of young people in young offenders facilities have difficulties around understanding and communication.
Poor language and communication skills at a very young age can predict life prospects right into adulthood.
For many, it can be difficult to do well in school, find a job, and then hold on to a job.
But it doesn't have to be like this. As a parent, carer, teacher, or anyone around a child, you can help change all this.
We need you to make a big difference in our lives.
I love it when my mum and dad play with me and my toys.
I like when Auntie Ali talks to me and plays with me.
It's great when my support worker just spends time with me and talks to me.
I like playing with my mom and gardening with Papa, and Papa talks to me.
Did you know that research shows that by the time the average child reaches 7 years old, they'll have spent one whole year of 24-hour days looking at screens? This includes phones, tablets, games consoles, and television.
That is like spending a whole year of my life looking at a screen with nobody talking to me.
It's so important to take time just to talk to your child and to play with them. Talk to them about what they're doing, name things, describe things to them, and they'll learn so much. It's as simple as that. And these moments are so precious.
He sits up at home with a hotband. 12.
Sometimes my mum goes on her phone and doesn't listen to me.
If a grown-up hardly ever spent time talking to me, I'd feel lonely, left out, and as if no one ever cared about me.
I would feel sad.
Lonely.
Sad. As angry as a T-Rex.
Very, very upset.
So make a difference in a child or young person's life today.
Help them have better life prospects.
Have those precious moments.
Please help. Get we people chatting! Yay!
Thank you.
If you're concerned about a child's language or communication skills or would like advice on how to support them, you can phone or text our Speech and Language Therapy helpline on a Thursday afternoon between 2 and 4 p.m. The number is 07980 919 654. We'd be happy to help. You can also find loads of great tips, advice and videos on our Facebook page, Speech and Language Therapy in East Ayrshire. Hashtag Getting Wee People Chatting.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, so apologies to those who couldn't hear. I think it was quite mixed there. So some people could hear and could see and others couldn't. But the YouTube link is there. So please go and have a little watch because it's a lovely video just explaining why language and communication are so important and all the ways that we can help. So if you just Google Communication for Life and it's just Ayrshire and Arran, or if you follow that link, it will come up. So speech and language and communication are extremely important. It's what makes us human. Everything we do involves communication. We need our language and our communication to express our needs. We need it for social communication and to develop relationships and friendships. If we can't say it, we can't read or write it. So it's extremely important for learning to read and write and then for attainment. Every aspect of the curriculum requires good speech, language and communication skills to access. And then of course our attainment affects our employment and our life outcomes. So we know that a child's vocabulary at age 5 affects their life outcomes in their 30s. So absolutely crucial to concentrate on speech and language and communication. So just take a little minute just now just to think about why families, adults, friends, why humans are having less face-to-face interactions and conversation these days. please feel free to put it in the chat or put up your hand if you'd like to talk. A little common theme going on about screens here, technology and phones and screen time, absolutely. Long working hours, living far away from family, yep, so having less extended family round about, so having to be in childcare more often as well, so just literally physically having less time as well. And lockdowns as well, you're absolutely right, Miss Sloman. The lockdowns have obviously had a huge impact on mental health. For some families, lockdowns have created more conversations within the smaller family unit, but obviously less face-to-face interactions and conversations with other families. Yeah, absolutely, Miss Og. So lifestyle, less time around the dinner table. And there's lots of research to say that family meals are a huge factor in creating resilience in teenagers, and a big kind of link there between more family meal times and less risky behaviour as a teenager. So absolutely. Thank you guys. Great answers there and great thoughts. So as you picked up on, one of the biggest reasons that we are having less face-to-face conversations, amongst others, is screen time. So for those of you who could hear the film there, you will have picked up on this quote. So by the age of 7 years, an average child born today, so this is not children who have more screen time, this is an average child, will have spent 1 full year of their life of 24-hour days watching screen media. So that could be computer games, internet, DVDs, television, tablet. Okay, watching YouTube. So that's a huge amount of screen time. And children can't learn language from screens. They absolutely need face-to-face interaction with adults to be able to learn language. So yes, I'm not condoning screen time at all. My wee one does have regular screen time, but we make sure that we have regular positive face-to-face conversations and interactions as well, because that's how he learns language. So just a little bit of the research there. It's a nice article to go and have a look at. You can see the reference at the bottom of the slide. But basically, there are lots of research articles out there that show that increased screen time is associated with poorer developmental test scores. So it's just worth being really aware of that. And as I said earlier, we need those face-to-face interactions and conversations. They are extremely important for lots of aspects of speech, language and communication development. It's, as we talked about before, it's about positive relationships and friendships within that family unit. We absolutely need face-to-face interaction to develop our non-verbal social communication skills and to develop our talking and listening skills as well. So extremely important for that. So what we're here to talk about today, we are here to talk about Big Talk and why that's been something that we have really concentrated on in East Ayrshire. Big Talk is basically a talking homework activity that schools send out, and it allows children and their families to have that really special one-to-one or family unit talking time within the home environment. And obviously we hope that having more of that time as a family, more conversation, more talking time as a family will help to encourage development of their child's speech, language and communication skills. So why Big Talk? Doing Big Talk homework gives value to communication and conversation. It shows family that parents and families that by just that simple act of having a talking homework activity, it shows them how important it is. It's just as important as their literacy, it's just as important as their numeracy, it's just as important as their topic work. Big Talk can also help to develop children's conversation skills. It can help develop their narrative skills and also their spoken vocabulary as well. And that's because of that simple face-to-face interaction and the modelling from adults around them. When we were developing Big Talk from an idea that was created by Lisa Stobbs in East Ayrshire, and you'll hear a little bit from Lisa in a minute. When we were developing it from her idea, we did a little bit of research into it. We developed it using a quality improvement method. And one of the things that we found out is that children absolutely love doing their Big Talk homework. They really enjoy it. They enjoy that time with their families. and the families as a whole have said it's their most enjoyable piece of homework, which is lovely. So this little graph here is from one of our primary schools who tested Big Talk in East Ayrshire. And you can see there, so I don't know why that graph goes up to 25. I need to change it because obviously there's only 21 children in a class. But you can see there the amount of P1s, and this was a school who have a very high level of deprivation. They have a high percentage of children within CMD 1 and 2. So you can see there that a huge amount of the P1s were completing their Big Talk homework task, which is absolutely fantastic. So schools have found that it is their most completed and their most returned piece of homework. You can see there that the percentage of P3s completing their homework task was really high as well, which was fantastic. A lot of the schools told us that actually family engagement with homework and family engagement with learning tends to decrease as you go up the school. So it's really nice to see that actually, although there's a slight decrease, the P3s, there's still a huge, a really high percentage of them completing their homework task. And we did a little bit about recall of conversation as well. So this is helping to develop their narrative skills, so their ability to retell a story. So here it was about recalling and retelling the conversation that they had at home with their class teacher. So you can see that as we go on, the children are, there's a huge jump at the beginning. So we based it on a Likert scale. And there's a huge jump at the beginning, which is fantastic as you go to week 3. And then unfortunately we had the beast from the east, for those of you who will remember that. And then again, there's then that gradual improvement in the quality of their recall skills, which is amazing. And this graph doesn't sit in isolation. We have lots of other graphs that show similar. So how does Big Talk work? Basically, it can vary to suit your establishment, to suit your school and your families. Big Talk homework is generally given out once a week. The conversation topic is dictated by the class teacher and then it's explained. And sometimes the family have a space to record how they felt the conversation went. They can describe the conversation if they want to via words or pictures. And then the following week, the school teacher, the class teacher and the school staff would have a conversation with the children when the homework's returned. And that's where the support of the development of the narrative skills, so the retell of stories, that's where that really comes into play. So schools, as we have scaled and spread this improvement project of Big Talk across East Ayrshire, schools have developed their own ways to do that, their own way to give the homework out. So some schools will have a jotter that they give it out via. Some schools have been using the app, so for example Seesaw or learning journals. Some schools have been sending it out via their Twitter feed or via Facebook if they use Facebook. One of our schools, Logan Primary, have developed a really nice way of sending it out using a lanyard. So each class, every kid has a lanyard and it says Big Talk on it. And then it has, obviously, on the attachment for the lanyard, it has Big Talk homework. It has a few top tips for families on how to complete the Big Talk homework. And then the teacher can slide in the topic for that week. So she can slide in the homework into that. The child gets given that round their neck at home time, and then they complete it as they go for the week. So Logan found that works really well because often then on pick-up, the family have that conversation when they're going home, which is really nice. So either on the walk home or in the car on the way home. And it's just that prompt for families to do it, and that works really well for that particular school. Other schools have given it out via Glow or via Teams as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can give this out other than just the traditional homework jotter. So what does Big Talk, what is it about? You know, what do the families have conversations about? That is completely up to yourselves. It's completely up to the school who are running it. So it can be adapted depending on the age of the children. Obviously what you would give out to your P1s would be quite different to what you would give for Big Talk for your P7s. So just a few ideas here. So it could be potentially about a word the children have learned that week at school. So some of our schools use the word-aware approach to teaching vocabulary. So they link it to their word of the week or words that they've put on their word wall. It could be around their topic that term. It could be around seasonal events. So for example, Halloween, Christmas, Easter. If you've been looking or focusing on emotions, it could be around emotions. It could be about feelings, or it could be individual experiences that either that child has maybe had at home or maybe the class have had within school. So there's just a few examples on the bottom there. So it could be as simple as talk to me about the word navigate. Or it could be a bit more complex. So how would you feel if your country was carved in two? So it could be a question that the child could explore with their family. Or something super simple as have a chat about Halloween. So what we've found is that to make Big Talk a success, having a Big Talk launch event works really, really well. So what we've done with some of our schools is that we've held a family workshop, and that's been around the importance of speech, language and communication. We've encouraged the families to come in, obviously pre-COVID, have a cup of tea, have a conversation, talk about speech, language and communication, and then we've held a wee play session in partnership with the school, with the children and their families. And we found that can be really influential, encouraging families to complete this homework activity because they know about the importance of speech, language and communication, and they've also had that little practice in school as well. So it becomes something that's not scary, and it also puts it on their radar. We found that schools who use social media or parents' evening to promote the importance of Big Talk homework can also have a really positive impact. And we've had a few early years establishments who've adapted it for their ECC, and they've called it We Talk. So the family lunch is really about raising awareness of why language and communication are important, having that opportunity for parents to play and chat with their children, and it engages them with the importance of the homework. So my colleague Lisa Stobbs is on the call, and Big Talk was originally Lisa's idea. She adapted it from the Big Talk that's linked to Big Writing, and then we, alongside another speech and language therapist, Jennifer Beck, our team then supported the rollout of this across East Ayrshire. So Lisa has a little video here, and it just talks about her how basically she came up with the idea, how she developed it with her class, and how she's still using it. So fingers crossed this will work for most of you, but I'm sure Lisa can maybe pop the link into the chat box. She's on the call with us today for those of you who the video doesn't work for.
Hi, my name is Lisa Stones. I'm a teacher at the Learning Centre. I first created Talk Homework a number of years ago for my ASM class. I had primary 1 to 4. The children within the class had a wide range of needs, some who were very talkative and could give you very full answers, and were focusing more on taking turns when in conversation, and I had some children who were completely non-verbal and were using signs and symbols. Initially, I introduced Talk Homework in our class because traditional homework tasks just weren't fit for purpose anymore. It meant that children and their parents had a meaningful task to take part in every week, and it was giving them practicing vital skills such as attention, listening, taking turns in conversation, asking additional questions to get more information and details, and answering the question. I felt it was really useful because we could also take it into our writing, we could also get pupil voice, and also it was really engaging the parents in their child's learning. So what did Talk Homework look like in SLC1? So I would give it a slip of paper every Monday that had the question on it, and there it just looked like this. We would have a question, we would have a box just for parents to write any feedback, comments on, so that it would help us during our learning conversation later on in the week. And then just a rating of how their individual child got on during the task. And then this kind of showed the progression of how better the children were settling into the activity in their house. So every week I would set a question. Now it ranged
I've done loads of different questions over the years, but it would link to a writing or in some cases. So for example, we had a parent who raised money for the Supported Learning Centre. So our talk homework that week was all about giving the parents information that somebody had been raising money for us, but also to ask, what would you like to buy for your class? And that gave the parents and the children an opportunity to talk about what they thought would be beneficial for us to use the money for. Then this allowed us to create a wish list using the information from the talk homework to make a list of the resources we would like for our classrooms. So as I said, I would give the talk homework out at the beginning of the week, take it in on the Wednesday usually, to allow me some time to prepare any visuals that I might need for my non-verbal learners. It was so beneficial to me because not only did it give me a chance to have a wee look and get the visuals prepared so that I definitely had their answer, it also allowed me to assess that they were actually giving me accurate information and weren't just picking something because they'd watched a friend do it, because obviously their parents knew them best. So on a Thursday usually we would have our conversations and I would take in the talk home. I would have the talk homework there. It would allow me to ask additional questions and structure who was in which group. So we were working on similar targets, and again it would allow our non-verbal learners to practice making meaningful choices and engage in conversation. I think the best bit about the talk homework was the feedback from parents. I had so many parents who absolutely loved it. All of the homework was always done. Every single parent was engaging with it and it was fantastic. The parents loved it, and I think probably the best feedback I've ever received for it was the fact that it was allowing them to be more creative with communicating with their child and not just stop and asking the questions because they struggled to communicate because they were maybe non-verbal, which I thought was fantastic. A lot of questions they maybe wouldn't have asked their child previously, they were now asking, and they were using objects of reference within the house just to be more creative, to get more communication with their child. Our talk homework then evolved thanks to our speech and language therapist who was in observing us one day when I was doing the talk homework and thought that she would share it with other schools, which was just great. I was so happy to think that a little homework job for a little class was now evolving and other people were using it, so that's great, and I'm so excited to hear other things that people are doing with Big Talk now. Since then, we're still using our Big Talk now, but we're now using a QR code, and the QR code stays the same. This is laminated and sent home, and then I change the question every week. We still use it in a similar way. We still do our conversation with it, and we use it for our writing where we can, and our parents and our learners are still engaging with it and they're still enjoying it, which is fantastic. I'd just like to say thank you so much for letting me speak today, and if anyone's got any questions, I would love to answer them. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much to Lisa for that fantastic video and also for the inspiration for Big Talk for across East Ayrshire. So for those of you who couldn't see the video there, Jeanette has said that she's recording the session and the videos are working fine. So when you watch the recording back, you'll absolutely be able to see them, which is perfect. Mrs. Gorman, thank you for your question. Yeah, absolutely. Big Talk would be suitable for early years. We have quite a few early years establishments who are now using Big Talk to engage families in the importance of language and communication. What they've done is they've changed it to We Talk, which is quite nice, but it works in a very similar way. They're sending it out in a multitude of different ways, but they just changed the topic so that it's appropriate for wee or smaller children to talk about. So it's just about knowing your children and what would work for them. So just on this slide here, for those of you who couldn't see the video, this is how Lisa started her talk homework in the beginning. So she used a wee slip and that got sent home. So nice and simple, but now she uses a QR code and then that links to a Big Talk homework Microsoft form which has the topic on it. Okay, so Loads of different ways that you can do it. You can do it as low tech as you want, or you can do it as high tech as you want. So we're just going to take 5 minutes for you to think about how you see this potentially working in your establishment and for your families. And also, I'd love to hear about what you're going to do or read or look up as a result of today's creative conversation. So a few things coming into chat now. Thank you very much, guys. So Mrs. Gorman, you'll be discussing with your colleagues. Yeah, absolutely. Thinking about possible topics and then putting together a plan of action. Fantastic. Mrs. Gorman, if you would like me to put you in touch with any early years establishments in East Ayrshire who are doing it, please just pop me an email. My email will be on the slide coming next. And you can link up with some of them and see how they're doing it if you would like. Miss Craig, so you are currently running family groups once a week and you're working with children and their families for various different reasons. Yeah. So that would be great as part of your sessions as you've not implemented homework before. Yeah, absolutely. So modelling it during the group and then asking them to do some conversations and some chats at home. That sounds like a fantastic idea. Brilliant. Miss Og, that sounds absolutely fantastic. So it sounds like you're already doing it in a certain way, but you've got a few ideas about how to kind of take that further and take it forward. Absolutely great. Fantastic. Thank you.
Caroline, I wondered if you wanted to say a wee bit about the run charts and how you actually captured the evidence about the improvement. At some point, I'll let you carry on, but maybe at some point.
That's fine. Oh yeah, Angela rather than Miss Og. Yeah, we'll absolutely go back to the run chart bit in a wee minute and we can have a wee look at that again. Yeah, absolutely, Miss McDonald, and that's one of the reasons that we decided to go with it as purely as a talking homework rather than linked to the big writing, because these schools, it was really difficult for them. So that's why we made it purely a talking exercise, to try and encourage those families to have those conversations that wouldn't necessarily have had that before. And also because it's something quick and easy that families can do. It doesn't take too long. It can be done on the way home from school, in the car. It can be done walking. It can be done at the dinner table if they've got that time, or just before bed. So I think that's one of the reasons that we found that it was so successful, because it's quick and easy. Also for wee ones who families are struggling to get to sit down at a table to do physical homework or to pick up a pencil, they don't have to do it like that. You know, the families can sit down and talk to them while they're playing. Thank you, Miss Sloman. That's really good to hear. So your school are using Big Talk already. It's new for you, so this will help you. Fantastic. So you'll use your idea on your learning journey. That sounds like a really good plan. Okay, so some really fantastic ideas. So Angela, you've asked how do you best evidence pupil learning through talk? I'm not sure how it works in other areas, but in East Ayrshire, when the Scottish Attainment Challenge came together, I worked with our senior education manager, Gail Elder, to basically help them write their early first and second level listening and talking progression frameworks. Sorry, big mouthful there, so I hope you got all of that. So from the early first and second pupil listening and talking frameworks, that then links to the teacher judgment, so that is how our teachers can evidence their pupil learning through talk. So what we did here was we literally just had a tick list for the teachers who were introducing this. So this is just an example of one of the charts that has come from one of our schools. So they basically just had a list of the children's names, and they had week 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And then as the homework came in, or they saw evidence of the homework having been done, then they ticked, and we added that up. You can see here that this one is a percentage of the class rather than a number of the class. So that one was really easy to do. And what we did here was linked in some improvement ideas. So they're not annotated on this particular chart, but we could, that big jump there from week 1 to 3, for example, that's quite often when the launch happened or when it was advertised on a parents' evening or social media. So we saw that quite a few, that's how we learned that our family launches and advertising on social media or at parents' evening, for example, worked because we saw those spikes in our graphs. So that's, this is called a run chart here for those of you who don't know. You're right, it should be annotated to show where the improvement happened. So that's a wee takeaway for me today, to go and get some of the ones that are annotated for you. But yeah, the improvement happened when we used those change ideas. One, you can see there that we've used a little scale, and we set that scale in partnership with the class teacher for this particular one. And we talked about what the quality would be. So 0 would be, for example, the child wasn't able to recall the conversation at all. And 4 would be they were able to recall it really well. They were able to use several sentences with conjunctions to recall that conversation. Okay. And then basically then when the teacher was going round the group, either a small group or a whole class, and saying, what did you chat about with mum and dad today, or what did you chat about with gran this week? The child was then retelling the conversation. And it was just as simple as then the teacher basically using that scale that we had co-created with her and recording whether it was a 0, whether it was a 1, a 2 or a 4, for example. And then we kept that. Okay, so this is an average. So this was the class average that we've done here of the scale that the teacher noted for each child. So again, it's just that way of telling you if what you're doing is an improvement. So you're basically just wanting to use these charts to use some sort of data, whether it's this quantitative like this or whether it's qualitative data, whether it's just notes that you're making, and it's just about, is this change that I've introduced, is this leading to improvement? So I hope that helps a little bit, Beverly. This is our email address here, so sac.slt@aapct.scot.nhs.uk. So if you would like any further information, please just pop us an email if you'd like to have a chat to any of the establishments who have started this in East Ayrshire, then we can put you in touch with them. So that's the main bulk of the presentation done for today. So now is an opportunity for you to ask any questions of myself, to let us know your thoughts, how you found today, and if you'd like to ask any questions of Lisa as well, as Lisa is on the call with us today. Yeah, Angela, it's really depended on what the school finds works for them. When we're working with a school, whether it be on Big Talk or any of our other programmes or Communication Friendly, we basically ask the school what works for you. You know, what do your parents already engage with? What's easy for them? Where are they most likely to find this conversation? Where are they most likely to find this information? So yeah, that's been a variety of whether it's been the school app or whether it's been social media. What we've done in other, obviously before COVID, is that a few of the schools had told us that most parents do come to parents' evening. So what we did was we had a little stall at parents' evening. Now that doesn't have to be your speech and language therapist that you work with, that could be run by somebody within the school. And we just basically gave out some freebies, some resources, but we also then gave out information about Big Talk, why the school were doing it and why speech and language and communication were really important. So I think it's just about knowing your families. We did find that a really high percentage of families did attend the launch, particularly down the school, because parents love to see their children in school. They love to see where they learn. They love to see them with their peers. So they were very well attended for the main part. So I think it's about thinking about your kids, Angela, and thinking about your families and how it might work for you, if that makes sense.
I was just wondering if anybody wanted to come in? Emma, Craig, I was wondering if you wanted to come in and say anything about the work that you're doing.
Hi Beverly. Yeah, as you know, we've been running family groups at Abercrombie for a few years now, and usually we invite parents into our family room, and it's for a variety of reasons, whether there's bereavements, whether the children have additional support needs, whether they just need to work on their social skills. So there's different kind of aspects of it, but it's all been outdoors at the moment because of COVID, and we're being very, very lucky with the weather, but we're really hoping that the mitigations will change slightly going into next term and see if we can get people back in. And that was one of our kind of fundamental things that we loved and that everyone loved about coming, that we all sat around the table and had a chat and had a talk and had these quite hard conversations sometimes, and let parents know that they weren't alone and that other people were feeling that way. So this tonight has just given me loads of ideas to kind of go away and think about how we can take this forward. So it's just something else that we'd like to add in once we're allowed to have everyone back together. But I like the idea of us kind of modelling it at the sessions and then getting a lot of these families who don't engage necessarily with things that we put out like homework, but if they're just sitting having a chat and a conversation, it's maybe something to engage with more. So yeah, lots to think about.
Yeah, no, that sounds absolutely fantastic. That sounds like a lovely thing that you're doing, so important for some of those families. Yeah, I think, you know, one of the things that we did at the family lunches is if a family, you know, were looking a wee bit unsure, we kind of sat down with them and just kind of had that conversation and did a wee bit of modelling between us and the child as well. As part of the launch, we gave them like some really, really simple tips about how to encourage speech and language and communication. Really simple things like, you know, wait for your child to respond. So if you ask them a question or you comment on what they're doing, give them loads of time to respond, making sure that it's a two-way conversation, try not to ask too many questions. So we just gave them really, really simple tips as well. So worth having a chat with your local speech and language therapy team if they can potentially provide some of that support as well. As part of our launch sessions, we kind of tended to theme it, whether it was like Halloween or Christmas or autumn, Easter, etc. And we had lots of props, and we found that really helped. So toys, items that represented that season. You know, what we did was sometimes have little prompt cards as well that had like a question on it that the parent could ask the child or something that they could comment on. So we found that quite helped for them to have that conversation as well, and it just gave them that almost like a little crutch to get them going, which was really nice. I think, you know, but I suppose because we're quite far on in this, some of our schools are launching it themselves now, but I really like your idea of doing it outdoors. So if I have any new schools come on board, it might be something that they say, oh, we can't do a launch because, then I'll maybe recommend doing a launch outside. Thank you very much for that.
So we just have a few minutes before we finish. If there's, I'm just looking to see if there's anything else in the chat pane. Angela, is there anything that you wanted to come in? You've been super in the chat pane, putting things in. Is there anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, sure, thank you. First of all, it's been a great session and I've really appreciated hearing what happens in other authorities. Obviously, you'll have gathered that I work in secondary education, so our challenges perhaps are slightly different, not quintessentially, but certainly in terms of our demographic as well, where we're at. So it's been really interesting to hear how we can take an approach. I'm a big believer in the 3 to 18, and it would be super to be able to have big talk from our early years right through to secondary. So, you know, my mind's really going here on the types of activities that we can do. And family engagement, parental engagement is one of our biggest challenges, as is social media. And we've just launched a new mobile phone policy actually for school. So it'll be quite interesting to be able to feed back to the school and be able to take many ideas forward, both at departmental level and hopefully at whole school. So a huge thank you for your input today, for your preparation and your wonderful experience. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Angela. You're more than welcome. And that sounds, you've got a fantastic vision, and I'll look forward to hearing about how that goes. We've just kind of started our secondary journey in East Ayrshire, so we have one secondary school and one department of a secondary school who are starting their communication friendly journey with us. So they are starting out by looking at their physical learning environment. That'll be really interesting in the next couple of years to see how they look at their community, their families, and how they engage them with speech, language and communication. So hopefully this is something that we'll both be learning about and can hopefully share again in the future.
Wow, that sounds really exciting. Yeah, I'd be delighted to maybe work with you or be in contact with you later on to find out how they're getting on, because it's such a critical thing that we need to promote. And obviously, being a drama teacher, I'm biased, but there is no question the importance of speech, language and communication.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Lindsay, technology not working very well, but your work in family learning has been very useful. Thank you very much, Lindsay. Well, unless there's any other questions, thank you very much all for coming today. I've really appreciated your engagement. It's been a fantastic conversation, and I'll pass over to Beverly to finish up. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yes, thank you everybody for your time today. And I will send out Caroline's slides and the links there as requested. I know Lisa's put something in the chat pane for the link, so we'll send it out just so that you've got it, and we'll also send out a link to our evaluation. So please, if you do have a couple of minutes just to fill that in, and if there's anything that you feel that we can help you with in the future, any sessions, then please do let us know. As I said at the start, today's session is recorded and we will be putting that on Education Scotland's YouTube channel in due course. So a huge thank you to Jeanette for being on the call today and for recording this for us. So if there's nothing else, I hope you have a lovely evening, whatever the weather is in your part of the world, and I hope to see you again at some of our future sessions. And thank you to Caroline and to Lisa for your time today, and for your colleagues on the call as well. Thank you so much for sharing with us. So have a lovely night, everybody.